Bueno, muy buenos días a todos, estudiantes, maestros, directivos y colaboradores. Es un gusto para mí conducir este evento hoy. Soy la licenciada Miguel Martínez, profesora de tiempo completo del Departamento de Lenguas Extranjeras. El día de hoy nos encontramos en el 1er Coloquio Lenguas, Educación y Cultura que realiza el Departamento de Lenguas Extranjeras. Sabemos que hoy en día un segundo idioma abre la puerta a muchas oportunidades, ya sea personales y profesionales. Es por eso que hoy las personas que dominan más de un idioma reciben más y mejores ofertas laborales. La globalización de la educación, los mercados y el mundo en general exige a las personas a prepararse mucho más que hace tan solo unas décadas, por lo que el dominio de otra lengua se ha vuelto indispensable para desarrollarse y destacar en un nivel profesional. Además de brindar beneficios en el ámbito laboral, se ha comprobado que las personas bilingües presentan habilidades superiores a aquellas personas que solo se comunican en un solo idioma. Sin más preámbulo, quiero ceder la palabra a la licenciada Claudia Galán, directora del Departamento. Maestra, un gusto recibirla.
Hola, muy buenos días a todos. Es un honor para mí, como directora del Departamento de Lenguas Extranjeras, darles a ustedes la bienvenida a este evento. En este espacio, nuestros ponentes compartirán algunas experiencias de su vida profesional y con el dominio de una lengua extranjera han fortalecido su conocimiento y trayectoria. Hablar una segunda lengua tiene muchas ventajas. Entre ellas, poder comunicarnos fomentando la independencia, pero además es una gran oportunidad de poder interactuar, de poder aprender y abrir otras ventanas de la vida laboral. De esta gran universidad hay egresados y colaboradores que por el simple hecho de dominar una lengua extranjera, sus vidas han cambiado. Han encontrado, muchos de ellos, el amor de su vida y vaya que he sido testigo de ello. Viven en otras regiones, adoptan otras culturas y así han emprendido y descubierto caminos y aventuras que jamás imaginaron. Los invito a seguir disfrutando y a seguir experimentando estas nuevas experiencias. Muchas gracias por estar aquí.
Muchas gracias, maestra. Vaya que se abren nuevos caminos y oportunidades, en lo personal, soy evidencia de ello. En verdad le agradezco sus palabras. Y vamos a continuar. Les voy a presentar al profesor Álvaro Vergara Villanueva, director de la Escuela de Humanidades, Lengua e Internacionalización. Maestro, bienvenido, le cedo la palabra.
Muchas gracias, Abigail, gracias a todos. Buenos días a los maestros, maestras que están aquí con nosotros, a los alumnos, a los alumnos que veo caras conocidas y a nuestros profesores, profesoras, a nuestros distinguidos profesionistas. Yo quiero agradecer a la maestra Claudia Galán y a su equipo de trabajo por esta iniciativa y el esfuerzo para organizar este evento. Es un esfuerzo que hace la maestra Claudia con su equipo para mostrarles a ustedes los beneficios que tienen el estudiar una segunda o tercera lengua diferente a la materna. Pues me da mucho gusto, la verdad, ver a los estudiantes aquí presentes en este primer Coloquio de Lenguas, Educación y Cultura. Ya lo comentaba la profesora Abigail y la maestra Claudia, pues el aprender lenguas extranjeras, la verdad, ayudan mucho en todos los sentidos, tanto en el sentido intelectual, en el sentido laboral y en el sentido social. Ustedes lo han experimentado en este grupo, lo comentaba Abigail, en este grupo hay testimonios, hay experiencias de que esto que se está diciendo de los beneficios de estudiar lenguas extranjeras es verdad. No estamos mintiendo, no estamos diciendo solo porque vamos a dar un discurso y y nada más. No, es la verdad. Hay muchas ventajas. Hay muchas ventajas el estudiar una lengua, una primera lengua, segunda lengua o tercera lengua, ¿verdad? Entonces, yo los invito, alumnos, alumnas, los invito a que sigan esforzándose para seguir desarrollando esas competencias lingüísticas en inglés, francés y, ¿por qué no?, en otro idioma. De acuerdo con estudios efectuados por el profesor de psiquiatría de la Universidad de California en Los Ángeles, profesor Joaquín Fuster, él dice que aprender un segundo idioma se mejoran todas las funciones cognitivas del ser humano, ¿verdad? Es decir, se mejoran esas funciones como la atención, la percepción, la memoria, la inteligencia y el lenguaje. En pocas palabras, este tipo de oportunidades son sumamente reducidas en la actualidad. Por eso, depende de todos y cada uno de ustedes el aprovecharlas al máximo. Atrévanse a alcanzar su máximo potencial. No duden nunca en hacerlo. Pues sin más preámbulos, siendo las 12:01 del día jueves 5 de mayo del 2022, doy por inaugurado el primer Coloquio de Lenguas, Educación y Cultura, deseando que sea un éxito y de mucho aprendizaje para todos ustedes. Muchas gracias a todos y que tengan un excelente coloquio. Gracias, Abigail.
Muchas gracias, maestro, y como bien lo ha dicho, anteriormente, dentro de todo este grupo vamos a ver estas experiencias que nos han ayudado a compartir, ¿no? Uno como profesor a veces toma la rienda de tratar de guiar a los alumnos. Ahorita tenemos varios alumnos que son de la carrera de idiomas, la carrera que nos vio nacer a cada una de las profesoras que estamos ahorita. Y yo creo que es muy importante incluso nosotros poder motivarlos a llegar más allá de lo que nosotras como profesoras lo hemos hecho. Agradezco sus palabras, agradezco su mensaje. Efectivamente, aprender un idioma más allá de la lengua materna nos va a abrir 1001 oportunidades, no solo personales, sino laborales. Gracias por dar inicio a este coloquio y esperemos que sea un éxito como usted bien lo ha dicho. Muchísimas gracias. Muy bien, pues bueno, vamos a continuar, vamos a darle paso a nuestra primera ponencia, chicos. Quiero presentarles al licenciado Rodrigo Blanco, es director de Asuntos Corporativos LATAM, TCS, es un ejecutivo con una trayectoria de más de 15 años de experiencia en negociaciones y relaciones internacionales, así como gestiones gubernamentales. Durante los últimos 14 años, su labor ha sido fundamental para el desarrollo y crecimiento de la relación bilateral entre México e India, para promover la atracción de la inversión extranjera, exportación de bienes y servicios, así como la internacionalización de empresas mexicanas, posicionando a ambos países como socios estratégicos. Su gestión en India como director de ProMéxico para la región SAARC y consejero comercial de la Embajada de México en India fue fundamental para desarrollar la relación entre ambos países y el crecimiento de la balanza comercial. Rodrigo ha sido galardonado por su contribución al comercio bilateral por diferentes organismos como el Congreso de la Unión de México, la Organización de Promoción Comercial de India, la Federación de Exportadores de la India, la Asociación de Minoristas de India, la Confederación de Industrias Indias, entre otros reconocimientos. Actualmente funge como director de Asuntos Corporativos para Latinoamérica de Tata Consultancy Services, empresa líder del grupo India Tata, posicionada entre las dos marcas de servicios informáticos más valiosas del mundo, según Brand Finance del 2022. Entonces le doy la bienvenida al licenciado Rodrigo Blanco.
Muchas gracias, Abigail. Una disculpa por conectarme un poquito tarde. Claudia, muchísimas gracias por la invitación. Álvaro, qué gusto me da verte por allá. Saludos. Y a todos los estudiantes, muchísimas gracias por conectarse. Prometo no hacerlo muy aburrido y tratar de que pues sea un poquito más interactiva la presentación. ¿Todos me escuchan bien? Sí, perfecto. Clau, ¿cómo quieres que hagamos la dinámica? Platícame un poquito.
Vamos a empezar con tu charla. Vas a hablar entre unos 30 a 40 minutos y ya después viene la sesión de preguntas y respuestas.
Híjole, 30 o 40 minutos. No es cierto. Oigan, un favor a todos. Yo sé que les encanta enseñar sus dibujitos de perfil, pero les pediría si por favor pudieran prender sus cámaras para poderlos ver, que de hecho es parte de la plática que vamos a tener, que ayuda un poco en el tema de eficientar un poco la comunicación intercultural. Clau, ¿en español o en inglés?
As you wish.
What do you think, guys? Should we do it in English or Spanish? My English is not that good, so I will try to do it as okay as possible. So if you allow me, let me just share my screen. Give me 1 second, please. You all can see the presentation? Perfect. Okay. I think I will not be able to see you. Zoom is new for me, so I don't know exactly how it works. But, well, basically, what we're going to discuss is a little bit about intercultural communication in business. Abigail already gave you a little bit of my background. I'm part of a multinational, or I will say a global company. We are located in 150 countries around the world, and we have more than 550,000 employees in the company. So we are a very large company. And apart from that, we are part of a very large group, which is Tata Group. Tata Group, most likely you haven't heard about it, you haven't seen it, but Tata Group, it's quite big also. We most likely the brands that you will know is Land Rover and Jaguar. Those are two brands that are part of our companies. So, and apart from that, we do everything, no? From water, bottling water, salt, tea, coffee, to aerospace, to this type of company like the one that I represent, which is IT, communications, infrastructure, everything that you might think Tata Group is part of, no? So I'm just giving you a little bit of this background so you also understand what we're going to discuss today. So in general, we're going to discuss 4 major questions, which is multicultural, cross-cultural, and intercultural. I'm pretty sure you all have heard these 3 concepts. So we're going to discuss which one is the one that we want to tackle during when we're doing business abroad. The other one will be, what is intercultural business communication? Then why is it important? And how do you become an efficient intercultural communicator? These are the four questions that we're going to ask ourselves. Hopefully, we're going to have a little bit of an interaction here, so you all can help me out. So let's go to it. We're going to define each one of the concepts. Let's make it a little more dynamic. You guys are going to hate me for this. Can Andrea Gomez, can you tell me an idea of what you understand by multicultural?
Sure. By multicultural, I understand a combination of different, in these cultures that have a certain interaction in a specific area in which they have to be like co-working together or something like that.
Perfect. Paola Leon, can you help me out with a definition, an idea of what is cross-cultural for you?
I don't know.
You don't know? Just give me an idea. Just see the words cross and cultural. What does it come to your mind when you think about cross-cultural? Anything? En español, si quieres, también, si te sientes más cómoda.
No, es que en serio no sé qué es.
¿Qué se te imagina cuando viene? ¿Qué es cross y qué es cultural?
Relating to different cultures.
Okay, very good. Then let's go to Fátima Durán Trejo. Tell me what is intercultural for you, Fátima.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you very well. Tell me.
Okay, I think that is when different cultures interactuate in the same space.
Okay, very good. Perfect. So you are all correct. Let me show you which are the let's say the general definitions of this concept. No, multicultural refers to a society that contains several cultures. That means, let's put it into context. You all have heard about New York, no? You all have heard that New York City is the melting pot of the world, because you have all the cultures there, you have all the ethnicities there. So that's multicultural. That means that they are all located in one place, in one area. You know that they are from different backgrounds, but you not necessarily interact between each other. No, you just acknowledge that there's another culture there. Then if we go to cross-cultural, that means that there's a comparison between different cultures. In cross-cultural communication, there's an understanding and an acknowledgement of the cultures, and there's a little bit of interaction between all of them. But there's not, let's say, a full interaction where you are making a transformation, a collective transformation. No? You just acknowledge that they're there, you talk to them, you might know a little bit of English, you might know a little bit of French, you might know a little bit of Portuguese, and you interact with them, but that's it. You don't go deeper than that. And then you have what is intercultural, which describes communities that are interacting among themselves, acknowledging the ethnicities, the language, the cultural differences, and that's what the communication focuses on, no? How we are going to communicate in a way that we want to express an idea, and it's going to be taken by the rest of the cultures and the rest of the ethnicities. So these are the difference between these three very important concepts that you're going to hear all the time, no? Even, for example, if I remember correctly, we have a multicultural high school in Uninter, no? And then you have cross-cultural classes. And now we're discussing about intercultural communication, which is very important in business. So let's go back to you guys. Can Mar Mendoza, sorry, Mar, can you tell me, can you just read a little bit what it says there in the presentation?
Can you repeat, please?
Can you read what is there in the PPT?
Yes. In business, intercultural communication allows individuals to interact respectfully and constructively. It encourages the finding of common group and an honoring of differences.
Perfect. Just let's make a pause there. So again, this is what we discussed, no? In business, intercultural communication allows everyone to have a full interaction, acknowledge, interact, and learn also from the other person or the other cultures. Diego Ocampo, can you read the second paragraph, please?
Yes. Intercultural communication is equally important in person, on the phone, and even via email or text message.
Excellent. This is very important. Do you know why is it important? Anyone can tell me? Don't wait until I give you the word, because I cannot see if you're raising your hand, but just open your mic and tell me why this is important. Is anyone? Okay.
One moment, we're going to read some parts, yeah?
Thank you.
One moment.
Sure.
Here, if you want. Which part do we need to read?
Not reading. Why is it important that we consider the importance of communicating in the same way over the phone or via email or in a text message?
Because these are also ways of communication, right? And still we need to respectfully treat people regarding any type of communication, right? Because we still communicate for successful business collaboration.
Exactly. Also, Sofia Luna is telling us the same thing, because we deserve respect in any situation. That is correct. So basically, we need to keep the same posture, either if we're communicating physically or via email or over the phone or by text messages. It is important that we maintain the same quality of communication with the counterpart. This is something that we always need to consider. Now, let's go to the next one. Why is it important to have intercultural communication in business? These are very important points, no? The first one, which is I'm pretty sure most of you will be interested in, is the workforce mobility. The demand that the companies, the global companies are having right now is quite big. The demand of people with these qualifications, it's very big. No, so it is important that you not only prepare yourself into the skills that you're obtaining right now in your degree, but also these other concepts like intercultural communication, or even, for example, I will get out a little bit of what we're talking about the subject, but IT industry is also another thing that you need to learn, which is very important. We have seen this during the pandemic. It is relevant that you not only know what you learn in the books or with your teachers at school or with your degree, but also it's very important that you learn all these other skills that are going to make you more competitive in the business world. No, not only to work for a company, but also when you're opening your own business, and we're going to see that in the next slides. Again, the organizations in the liberal economies want to hire the best. All the companies are looking for the best. So the more that you're prepared, the better for us in the industries, because you have all these skills. No, I will give you an example. For example, I will give you an example of the IT sector. When I was in college, not very long back, I always thought that the people who will work in the IT industry, in the information, IT means information technologies. So I always thought that the people who will be working in this sector will be specialized into computer programming, all these very technological aspects. And now that I'm working for an IT company, by the way, I have a degree in international business, so nothing to do with IT. When I joined this IT company, which is the second largest IT company in the world, larger than IBM, for example. We are larger than IBM, Hewlett Packard, all these companies that you most likely heard. I was very scared because I said, I don't really have the technical background for this, but I did understand a couple of the concepts, but I did understand some of the ideas that were trending in the IT industry. So that gave me an edge to be able to join in the company. So it's very important that you always try to learn these skills that are demanded in the business world. No, the other one is that when you're either working for a company or you're having your own business, you are most likely going to interact with other markets, not only the typical or what we call the traditional markets like the US or Canada or South America or Europe, but you're going to deal with countries like or markets like China, Indonesia, India, Singapore. They are very different from the concept that we know and we understand, and that is why it's very important to have these specific skills, no? And then the fourth point will be the language skills, which is most of you are acquiring right now, which is basically being able to communicate with the other people, no? Being able to understand what are the needs or the requirements of your counterparts. So this is very, very important, no? I will tell you just an anecdote that I had when I came to India. I was assigned to India when I was 29 years. And I came to India knowing a little bit of English. I had my TOEFL certification, so I thought I knew English, no? So I came to India and I participated. They put me in a very important meeting with some directors of some universities or of the South region. And when I started the meeting with them and they started speaking, I realized that the English that I knew was not the same English that they were speaking. They were actually speaking the British English, which is the English that, let's say, the original English. And I couldn't understand because between their accent and then these slangs that they add to their way of communicating, and then they will include words in Hindi, which is the official language of India. It became very, very, very difficult, and it was very difficult for me to understand what they were wanting to do. And it was a very bad first meeting for me. So I had to go back to talk to the people from my team and try to start getting used to all these slangs, understand what they meant, the difference between the use of words. No, for example, in Mexico, you're very used to the word trash can, no? When you're throwing something to the trash can, you know, that is where you put the trash. In India or in UK, they call it dustbin. So it's a very different word, no? It's a very different concept. When they were telling me about the dustbin, I said, what the hell are you talking about? What is a dustbin? So that is why you have to understand that it's not only one English, the same that is not one Spanish, no? In Mexico, we speak one way, but if you go, for example, to Argentina, or you go to Uruguay, or you go to Portugal, Paraguay, they speak completely different, no? They have different words, they have different accents, they have different ways of expressing what they want. So you have to learn all these language skills, but not only the language itself, but everything that is around the language, no? So far, are there any questions? If you have any questions, just open your mic. Okay. So in what are we based when we are discussing with different cultures? These are two concepts that we are always have to take into account. One is generalization and the other one is stereotypes. No, and this is very common. And the line between these two, it's very, very thin. So usually the generalizations are good, are important, that you use this type of concepts when you're discussing with other people. The stereotypes, on the other hand, are not good at all. They're not going to help you, and you're going to fail in whatever communication you want to have with the counterpart. No. So we have an example here. People from Mexico tend to have an indirect style of communication. Can someone tell me what do you understand? You can tell me in Spanish, what do you understand from this concept?
That they don't go to the point. They like to mention different previous arguments before reaching to the actual point and not being direct. I don't know.
Exactly. Exactly. We always take different angles before communicating what we want to do. No, in business, you typically just talk to the people, try to understand what they want. Then you will decide if this person, what is going to be the, let's say that you're going to sell a mobile. No, you first talk to him, get all the information that you require, and then according to that information that you're getting, you're going to say, this is going to cost you $100. No, that's a style that we typically have in Mexico. We have a saying, dependiendo el sapo, la pedrada. No, that's something that we typically use in Mexico. Then you have the stereotype, which is people from Mexico are very informal. This is a negative concept of the people. We are sure that there might be people who are informal in Mexico, as they are in anywhere in the world. No, but you cannot define a community by some negative aspects that you have seen in the country. No, so for example, it's not good to use people from Mexico are very informal. You don't know that. You don't know if the person that you're talking to, it's an informal person or it's a very professional person, and actually is gonna just go direct to the point that how the business is gonna go. No? So far, good? Are we okay? Perfect. So these are some points that are gonna help you out to have an effective interaction. An effective communication. You have to educate yourself. This is very important. Whenever you're dealing with someone else from a different culture, you have to educate yourself into which are their backgrounds, which are their needs, not only the general aspects, but very important, very small points like their religion, the type of language that they speak. I will give you a couple of examples. When I was in India, I received a company from Mexico that special. I will not say the brand because it was not a good thing from their side, but I received a company from Mexico that specializes into selling meat, no, cow meat. Let's different cuts. Frozen, they sell it everywhere. And they came to India, they come to my office, they knock on the door and they say, we're here to have a business agenda. They said, okay, perfect. What do you want? What is your interest? And they said, well, we want to sell meat in India. I said, you came all over to the other side of the world, to a country that you have no idea of which are the demands, which are the requirements, which is their culture, and you want to sell meat to them. It's like, yeah, we sell meat all over the world. We come to India to sell meat. So, well, the only issue is that the the cows in India are sacred. So people don't eat meat. No, they eat poultry, they eat goat, but they don't eat beef. They don't eat cows. So they were shocked. No? And that's why you have to educate yourself. Before doing anything, you have to educate yourself. Another very typical thing that we do is, can someone tell me how do you call the people that come from India? Venga, Veronica.
Hindi?
No. Very, that is very popular. Everyone tells you they are Hindus. Oh, some people from India are Hindus. But the correct way of saying that they are from India is that we call them Indians. Plain and simple. Hindus is related to the Hinduism, the religion. So there's people from India that are Hindus. There are people from India that are Catholic. There are people from India that are Muslims. There are people from India that are Zoroastrians, and all the religions are there. So Hindus are related to the religion, and Indios is related to the country. Why is so difficult for Mexicans to call an Indian Indian? Because we have it in a very disrespectful. When you're cursing someone, you will tell Indio, no, you're an Indio. But there's a whole cultural background to just that expression. Yes, we are called Indios because when Colón came to the Americas, he thought that he was reaching to India. So, and we look, if you see any Indian, he will look just like a Mexican or a person from Latin America in general. And we go there and we look like Indians. When we were there with my wife, people will come to us and talk to us in Hindi, and we will just reply, we don't talk Hindi, you know, and they will get upset. How you are an Indian and you don't speak Hindi? I said, well, might be that one of our ancestors came from India, but we're Mexicans. And they were shocked because we look the same. No, so that is very important, no, that you educate yourself with whom you're talking to. You have to learn a language. Right now, English is it's already implied that you're going to talk English. You're going to speak English. You have to learn at least a third language to make yourself competitive in the business world. You have to know at least a third language. No, there's other languages that are very important, like Chinese right now. In the business, I'm talking about the business world. No, in the business world, talking Chinese, it's very speaking Chinese is very important. Speaking Hindi, which is the language from India, it's also very important. These are countries that are very business oriented. So that's an idea that I put there for you to not learn the traditional language, but learn this non-traditional that will make you even more competitive in the international market. If you're in a meeting, if you're with a group of people and you don't understand something, ask, because if you keep the doubt that you have, might affect the rest of the communication that you will have with the counterparts, no? Especially in business. If you don't understand something and then you imply that it was the way that you think it is, you may get into trouble. So it's very important you will always ask if you have any doubts there. You're always going to make a mistake, no? We going a little back in the presentation, we were talking about generalizations and stereotypes. You're always going to be in that line, and sometimes you're going to make a mistake. Again, I will give you an anecdote from my time that I was in India. My first business meeting was with the consul, honorary consul of Mexico in Mumbai. So these titles of honorary consuls are given by the Mexican government to very prominent business people in different locations. So this guy was a very, very prominent business person in Mumbai, in India in general. He's one of the richest people in India. And I had a meeting with him, and it was just a week after I arrived in India. So I went there. I was tired, the jet lag was there. So I decided not to read anything about him, just go to the meeting, just talk to him and see what type of collaboration we could have. So I come to this impressive building. They take me to the penthouse. The office was incredible. They sit me down, and I'm just waiting for this prominent business person. The idea of a person that a business person that you have, the stereotype of a business person that you have. And out of the sudden, it's very common that before you start a meeting in India, someone will come and offer you tea, coffee, any type of beverage. So one person came, and he comes and says, can I offer you tea or coffee? And I look at him from up to down, all the way, and he was wearing a white polo, white pants, and sandals. So I look at him, and then I decided that he was a waiter. So I said, no, thank you. I will wait for Mr. Shroff. Mr. Shroff is the business person. And he kept walking towards the desk, and he sits down in the desk, and he tells me, I am Mr. Shroff. So I completely blacked out. I just thought that the person that was sitting who was sitting in front of me was a waiter, and in fact, he was the owner of one of the largest agricultural emporios in the world. So you're always going to make this type of mistakes. This was a stereotype that I had. I didn't educate myself. I didn't ask anything. I didn't even search on Google, which is very, very easy, the name of the person, and most likely the picture will come. So these are the type of things that you're always going to deal with. So you're always going to make a mistake. You have to listen actively. That means that not just listening like you're listening right now, but fully pulling attention into what the things are being said by the counterpart, by the speaker. So it's very important. That's why I was telling you to open the cameras. The cameras are very important, because that means that you're putting full attention to the person that is in the other side. When you're just there, you turn on your camera, you turn off your camera, and then you're doing other things. You're not putting the full attention that the other person requires. You have to also learn the non-verbal communication. This is a very important thing when you're dealing with business. The non-verbal communication is part of the whole thing. If you're there, you have your pitch prepared, and you start discussing with the person that is in front of you, and you're very thrilled, and you are explaining all the benefits of your product or your service, and you're saying this is going to be the deal of your life, and you see that the other person is in the phone, just like sending messages or talking to other people. That means that you just need to finish whatever you came to say and leave, because the other person that is there is not, he doesn't want to pay attention. He has other things in his mind. He has other things more important than talking to you at that moment. So, or for example, the way that you see the expressions that you're going to see when they are, I was the lead negotiator for Mexico in India for agricultural products. So that means that I will negotiate the phytosanitary agreements. Phytosanitary means that we both countries have the same ways of fertilizing or producing some of the agricultural products that we have in the countries. So to make sure that any product from Mexico can enter the other country, you need to have a phytosanitary element. So I was there. I was the lead negotiator for this type of products. And the nonverbal communication during these negotiations was crucial to know where you could ask for more or where you need to be careful on what they're asking you for. So that is one of the most important things in the communication. And then the other most important thing is to be respectful. Always be aware of where you're sitting, with whom you're sitting, and just make sure you have everything that I'm putting here as an effective communicator. Make sure you have the mix of all those points when you're sitting with someone else. So that's basically the presentation. I don't know if we can go to a Q&A session. We still have time, Claudia?
Okay. Well, I don't know, you guys, if you have any question for our magnificent Mr. Rodrigo Blanco.
I don't know if magnificent, but
I mean, everything that you have said so far, it's really true. I have always taught with my students about the importance of knowing how to relate with other cultures, you know? And I try to let them know certain aspects from other people, not only from another country, but also from inside our country, you know? Like, it's not the same that we can speak here in the center part of the country, but if you go to the north side, it's got a completely different language, even though it's Spanish. So I don't know, you guys, if you have any questions, you can put them right away in the chat, or you can do it with your mic on. Or Rodrigo, if you want to ask somebody, we also have, I don't know, people that are from other countries. We have an Italian girl right away there. We have some teachers that are from other countries. I don't know if you want to ask them about their opinion according to what you just talked about.
So
No one?
Ask a question, or should I go straight to the questions? Okay, who is the international student that you were saying?
Mara?
Who, sorry?
Mara, her name is Mara.
Hi, Mara.
Hello, Mara is here. Mara is our international student.
Oh, it's right there. Okay, I can see you now. Mara, can you tell us a little bit about your experience in let's say specifically in the language part of when you came? I'm thinking you're in Mexico, right? You're in Cuernavaca.
Yeah.
So what was your first approach with the language?
I've already studied Spanish in high school, so I already knew the language. I especially knew Spanish from Spain. So coming here was a little bit difficult because grammatically speaking, there are a little bit of differences. For example, the usage of vosotros instead of ustedes. So it was a quick adaptation, I would say, because it wasn't too difficult. And also you in Mexico have a lot of words that I think are adapted from Latin, and also the same words are adapted from Latin in Italian. So it wasn't really difficult for me, honestly. Also, when I didn't know a word, I would just try and make the Italian word Spanish. So if it was right, good. If it wasn't right, I would learn in that moment. But yes, definitely something that I agree with is that always try and don't be afraid to make mistakes, because it's normal. It's part of the path of learning a language. Yes, that was my experience.
Perfect. How many languages you speak, Mara?
I speak Italian is my first language.
Yeah.
Whenever I live, there's a dialect that's considered a language by itself. It's called Sardo. And then I speak English, Spanish, French. I understand a little bit of Portuguese, and I'm learning now German.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Mara, for sharing.
Okay, thank you, Mara. Rodrigo, we have a question. It says, what has been the best experience you have had throughout your work experience?
Which has been the best experience that I had? I can tell you that the whole experience of going to India has been the best experience that I had in my professional life. My professional and my personal life, and I will tell you why. I was actually part of, first I have to tell you that I'm a student from Uninter. I have a bachelor degree from Uninter. I study international business there. And then I had a master's degree from Uninter also into marketing, global marketing. And then I have another master's degree from University of Texas into business administration. But I was working in Uninter at something that we call, I don't know if it's still there. In the Spanish school, we have something called executive program, which was a program specialized for business executives and also for diplomats. So I had a lot of interaction with these people from other countries who came to Cuernavaca to learn the language. I will hear their experiences and all these kind of things. So I was always curious about the international, living abroad, no? International business and all these kind of things. And after a couple of years, an opportunity came to join the Foreign Service, the Mexican Foreign Service. So I joined the Mexican Foreign Service as an attaché. So I went to, my first assignment was India. And then I became, when I was in India, I became the trade commissioner. So having 29 years and becoming a trade commissioner representing your country in another country was a big thing for me, no? And then being able to interact with these big tycoons in another country, you will not know who these people are because they're not very well known in Mexico. But for example, Mukesh Ambani, who is the owner of Reliance, or Anand Mahindra, or Ratan Tata, who are these guys, these big tycoons that they were sitting with a guy who has 29 years and hearing what I had to say about Mexico, why it was important for them to come to Mexico, invest in Mexico, trade with Mexico. So that was the biggest highlight of my career, no? And then strengthening the relationship between India and Mexico in the business aspects. When I first reached India, the trade balance between both countries was $2,500 million. So let's say $2.5 billion. By the time I finished my tenure in India, after 10 years, by the way, I spent 10 years in India, I came out of the country with a trade balance of $10.5 billion. So we did a very good job into strengthening the relationship between both countries. So that was my biggest highlight in my professional career.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you. I have another question here. It says, it's from Diego Campo, and he asks, what has been the culture in which you have had more problems to adapt?
Which has been a culture that I have been having the most problems to adapt? Most probably not to do business with, but to immerse myself has been with China. The Chinese people tend to be more into let's go to the expressions that I use in the presentation. They are multicultural. They acknowledge that there are other countries and they acknowledge there are other cultures, other needs, but they are very close when they are dealing with foreigners. So it's very difficult sometimes to communicate with them. I was very fortunate to be in China a couple of times. And when you are, for example, in Beijing, you speak in English and they will look at you and they will not reply to you and move on. That's for two reasons. Either they don't want to interact with you because you're a foreigner, or they don't speak the language. And it was very difficult to be there, try to interact with the people, try to move around even, was very difficult. But when you go to another place like Shanghai, which is more international international city, then you're able to communicate, to move around. They will reply to you. They will be inclined into interacting with you. So I think in general, China has been the most difficult country to interact with from my experience, no?
Okay, very good. Thank you. Now I have another question. Mariana Avila asks, what was your adaptation process in the beginning in a different culture?
Oof, that was very difficult. I will say that the first 2 years were very complicated, at the point that I wanted to just quit. I just wanted to go back. Because you're not used, it's a completely different thing that from you're used to, no? From the language, from the way that they move, from the way that they interact with you, from the way that they live. For example, in here, you're very used to go to the supermarket, get all your groceries, and then go home and eat whatever you want. No, this is basically very easy for you. If you're not vegan or vegetarian, if you eat everything, you go to the supermarket, you buy your steaks or your chicken or whatever you're eating. No, when you're in India and you're not vegetarian, it becomes an issue because either you have to eat chicken or you eat goat. But most of the times, the quality of these products are not the best. So the best thing to do is just stick to the vegetables. And as a kid, vegetables and I were not too friendly. We didn't like each other. So it was very difficult at the beginning. And then things like the use of the toilet. They have something very common that is in most Asian countries. They will have something that they call the squat toilet. I will leave it to your imagination, but that is what it's called, the squat toilet. So in my life, never used anything even remotely similar to this. So I was fortunate then to find a regular, well, I will call it a regular for myself, but not for them, a regular toilet, no? So all these kind of things are just, as we say in Mexico, una piedrita en el zapato, no? That it becomes very complicated to adapt yourself to the country. And then the language, and then the way that Indians are very clever. Indians are extremely clever on how they want to do the things, on how they want to take advantage of their business. When you're dealing with an Indian, basically, you always hear, we are the best in the country. We are the largest. We are the most prominent. All these kind of adjectives, you will always find them when you're dealing with an Indian counterpart. So getting used to these kind of things was difficult. But then after the time, if you start focusing in these small things, then your life will become a nightmare. So the best thing to do is that, okay, I need to focus in doing my job. I need to do what I came here to do. And then the rest of the things will move smoothly. No? Then you get used to all these things. Now, if you ask me, I just came back to Mexico 3 years back. If you ask me, I miss all the Indian things. No? I miss eating Indian food. I miss talking to my friends, all these kind of things. So every time that I can go to India, it's a big party for me.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you. We have a last question. It says, have you had the opportunity to learn the Hindi language?
I did, but I will tell you something very funny about it. When I first came to India, they told me you have to learn the language, correct? So I said, yes, of course. If I need to communicate, if I need to move around, I need to learn Hindi. So I went to classes. I passed the first course. So let's say I became basic in Hindi. so I was very proud of myself. I come home, there was a person who will help us at home to clean and cook and all these things. So I come home and I talk to her in the basic Hindi that I had, and I tried to express something to her. She looked at me and she said, "What?" And I reply again slowly, said, okay, I'm not saying it correctly. So I replied to her slowly, and she looked at me and she said, is that Hindi, sir? I said, yes. And it's like, oh no, I don't speak Hindi. I speak Malayalam. I said, okay. So I went, the office will have a driver. So I went to a couple of meetings. And during the meetings, during the way to one of these meetings, I start telling the driver, hey, I told something in Hindi, and he looked at me from the mirror and said, sorry, sir, I didn't get it. So I say it again slowly, and he told me, no, sir, I don't speak Hindi. I speak Marathi. So I said, what the hell? No one speaks Hindi, no? So I tell this to my teacher, and my teacher told me, you know what? Only 33% of the population in India speak Hindi. The rest of the population will speak other languages. So they speak Malayalam, Marathi, Kalyam, Punjabi. So I think there are up to 54 official languages. It's official languages. If you see any rupee, any rupee bill, which is the currency of the country, you will see the list of the languages right there. So it's just impressive, no? So yes, I did learn, but sadly, I'm still in basic.
Okay, well, we really appreciate your time, and we really appreciate what you just shared with us, that experience, and help us to learn more about what we can do for our own professional life and career. Thank you very much, Rodrigo Blanco. I give the word to Miss Claudia. She's going to close it up today.
Ok, Rodrigo, muchísimas gracias nuevamente por aceptar esta invitación. No voy a decir cuántos años llevamos de conocernos. Vamos a dejarlo hace 2 horas. Pero agradezco muchísimo tu participación en este primer coloquio que estamos organizando dentro del Departamento de Lenguas Extranjeras. Estoy completamente segura que todos nuestros estudiantes se llevan pues muchos aprendizajes y se llevan pues estas, pues como tú bien lo comentaste, pues estrategias también, ¿no? Para poderse desarrollar en el ámbito laboral, y que también sepan de que, pues que nosotros también podemos trabajar en estas empresas multinacionales y que podemos crecer y que podemos tener trabajos directivos, así como tú lo has tenido a lo largo de toda tu experiencia laboral. Y estoy muy contenta de ver ese crecimiento que has tenido, como bien lo dijiste, pues empezando dentro de un programa ejecutivo dentro de la universidad a llegar a lo que has estado ahorita, pues mi reconocimiento es aún más grande. Entonces voy a leer el siguiente reconocimiento que dice: Universidad Internacional otorga el presente reconocimiento a Rodrigo Blanco Zamora por impartir la conferencia La Interculturalidad en el desarrollo de los negocios internacionales en el primer coloquio en Lenguas, Educación y Cultura, realizado en esas fechas, Cuernavaca, Morelos, firma el maestro Álvaro Vergara y una servidora. Muchísimas gracias, Rodrigo.
No, hombre, muchísimas gracias a ustedes, de verdad, aprecio muchísimo la invitación. Y me hubiese encantado poder estar ahí en la universidad. Ojalá y próximamente se organice otro en la universidad para regresar a mi alma mater, que a mí me encanta. Tengo tanto que agradecerle a la universidad, que bueno, pues yo encantado de regresar con ustedes cuando quieran y cuando gusten. Y si alguno de ustedes, de los estudiantes o de los maestros, se quieren acercar a hacer alguna pregunta específica en relación a la empresa o en general, no sé si a través de ti, Claudia, se pueden acercar. Yo con muchísimo gusto, ahora sí que a mis compañeros de la universidad, lo que me pidan,
Muchísimas gracias, Rodrigo, te lo agradecemos mucho. Y pues muchísimas gracias a todos ustedes, profesores y alumnos. Gracias, Avi. Esperamos con más conferencias y que tengan una excelente tarde. Nos vemos. Hasta luego.
Gracias a todos. Bye bye. Que estén muy bien.